Well, hello everyone. I'm Sarat Kollimarla. I'm an experienced designer and a video producer. And in my free time, I love exploring generative AI tools and I love documenting and sharing with the community. And I also got a chance to speak at TEDx Boston about how AI can simplify video production. And this January, I got a chance to meet some AI visionaries in person, like Jan LeCun from Meta, Andrew Ng from Deep Learning, Daniel Aruz, and many more at the Davos AI conference. All right, so let's get into it. So let's imagine you have a flower shop called Petal and Stem, and you're the sole owner, and you take care of a whole of the business operation. So you answer calls like questions like when is the store open, and take orders, and then you got to update inventory and track all the orders. And by doing all this, you're getting very overwhelmed because you're not able to do the thing that you love the most, that is doing the flower arrangement. You're caught up in all the admin stuff. But what if an AI agent could take care of that repetitive behind the scenes work? So that's what I wanted to explore. So I built a simple AI agent for a flower shop, not to make it sound like human, but to do the work. So if you're interested to go deep dive in the whole AI workflow, you can definitely check out my LinkedIn video by going to my profile and you can take a look at that. All right. Before we get into building agents, there's always some kind of discussion about Gen AI and agents. How are they different? Just to at a very high level, Gen AI is like saying, "Tell me something." For example, a ChatGPT, draft me a letter, tell me this. And if it's agents, it's like more like do this for me, doing like a specific task. So they use Gen AI under the hood, but we add other components like memory, tools, and logic to take action. Good agents start on a whiteboard, and I'll tell you why. Before you build anything, it's very important to sketch out the whole flow, what you want your agent to do. In this example for the flower shop, whatever the customer queries, what I want the agent to do is first identify, is this a store related query that could be easily answered by a knowledge base, or is this an order related query? If this is an order related query, I want it to do a bunch of steps. So these are some steps here, like checking the inventory of the flower and quantity the customer requested. And once everything is good, we collect the order. We'll get into this in a bit. All right. Let's jump into some of the key components as we see in the diagram here. Knowledge base. So knowledge base could be something like a PDF. In this example, I have here like, overview of the store called Petal and Stem, store information like when it's open, what's the address, and several other information. And it's good to have like a CRM or Excel sheet. In this example, we will be using a Google Sheet, which will act as our inventory, where we can see here what all flowers are there and what's the stock and what's the current price. And then we'll have an order sheet where we can track all the orders. All right, now we have all the core pieces. Now let's see how we can build this agent with Relevance AI. Right. So you can go to relevanceai.com and you can sign in. The free version allows you to experiment a little bit, but you'll run out of credits very soon. As you can see, I'm pretty much running out of credits because I'm doing some experiments. But we'll get into pricing and credits in a bit later, but let's just jump into it.
And Sarat, can you just explain what Relevance AI is for people who may not have heard of this tool?
Sure. Relevance AI is a low code, and I would say not exactly no code, but a low code tool where you can build agents that interact with tools and knowledge base and a little bit more, which I'll show you in a second. So where you'll be using like a natural language to build it, but it's good to have some understanding of how an API works, what is post, what is get, which we'll get into in a second. So it's a very easy to use tool. And the good thing is this tool gives you some credits which allow you to use some LLMs that's already built in. But if you have your own LLM API that you already have, you can definitely use that. And there are several integrations, which I will show you in a second. All right, so to get started, you'll go ahead and click new agent. In the interest of time, I already created an agent, so let's walk through that. So my agent for the flower shop is called as Flora. And the first section is something is called as a system prompt, where basically whatever I showed you in my sketch in the whiteboard here, what I wanted to do for specific queries, the same thing I'm explaining in like simple English. For example, if it's a store related question, go to this knowledge base and answer it. If it's like related to taking order, call this specific tool. And there are a couple more other instructions. And one of the key components in any agent is tools. Tools is like, set of steps you want to trigger when a specific task happens or, about to happen. So here I created a tool called as check inventory and collect order. So let's take a quick look at what's happening in the specific tool. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit tool. So I'm going configure. So let's go here step by step. Don't get overwhelmed with the UI. It's pretty straightforward. So here I'm collecting inputs here, like, what type of flower it is, how many, what's the quantity, what's the customer name, email, and what's the delivery preference of pickup or delivery. All these inputs are stored in these respective variables. And I'll explain you why we're storing in variables. Once we store this, the first thing we want to do is, if it's an order, if you remember from our diagram, we want to check first of all, does this flower even exist? So you want to do a quick check. So here I'm going to do an API call to make.com, which is like an automation tool similar to N8N, which I think you guys saw a demo in the previous learning lab, and it's pretty similar. We'll get into that. So here in this section, I'm calling an API where I'm passing this variables, the flower type and quantity. So if it's a red rose and the quantity is 10, I want to pass this red rose and 10 to a make flow where it's gonna essentially check a Google Sheet. So let's take a look at that specific flow. So I'm gonna switch to make just to show you how when we're calling that API, what's happening. So that is check inventory. So let's go to check inventory. Let's go to edit. All right. So we pass those two variable values. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to look into the Google Sheet. So this is the Google Sheet I have connected. So it's going to check, okay, what rows it is and what's the quantity we're checking. So let's say we are asking for 10 red rows. So yes, we are good. We have enough stock. So we have to say, yes, we have that. So basically that's what's happening here. It's going to check for that flower, and it's going to check these three scenarios. One, here we added a filter. If the flower quantity mentioned, here we're checking if we have the flower, and here we're checking if the quantity that the user passed is less than our stock. That means if our original stock is 100 and the person is saying 10, so that means we're good. So it's in stock. Same thing, if it's less than that, it's low stock. And other scenarios is if somebody's asking for something that we don't have, we want to say it's not from. So this is basically what's happening in this flow. So all this data is being processed and it's sent back to Relevance AI. And once yes, we have the stock, we have the flower type the user is looking for, shall we confirm the order? And if the user says, yes, let's confirm the order, then we're going to make another API call where we're going to collect a user's information to create an order. So basically, when we say create an order, we want to collect their name, email, delivery method, and whatever they ordered. And this is something generated in real-time timestamp, depending upon when the order is placed. So this is like a variable, which let me just show you real quick. And all the automations in make.com are called as scenarios. So once we confirm the inventory is good, we're good to go, and the user is ready to order, so we pass in all this information. So if you see here, we are doing a couple of actions: Google Sheets, add a row, search row, update a row. Let's take a quick look what's happening here. Here, we are taking, as this is a variable called timestamp, where it'll take when the order is being created, it'll add a timestamp, and we're collecting, passing the user's name, email, the delivery preference, whatever they ordered. So we're adding a row, and it'll add to this order sheet here, and you will see it being populated. And then that's one part. The other important part is we have to update the inventory. When I say update the inventory, if the user has bought 10 flowers, now the inventory should show 90 flowers, because the next time a user is ordering, we should always reference the up-to-date inventory. So here, that's what's happening. It's finding the flower, which row it is, And then we're going to update the row by subtracting the stock with the order quantity. So we'll always see the updated stock. All right. Is this clear so far? All right. Let's get into the exciting part in a bit. And here is a section where we updated our PDF. All right, now it's time for demo. The interesting thing is sometimes it doesn't act, but hopefully it'll work fine. All right, so let's go ahead and get started.
Well,
This is the
not
most
working, Sarat? I never heard of that.
all right, this is the most exciting and scary part. All right, so this is what a user would see, and I'll also show you a voice version. You can say, hey, users are not gonna go do work with a chatbot; they will call the store. So I'll show you that scenario too. So we'll go ahead and start engaging with our chatbot here. And one more thing. So first, let's do a quick check of. I'll ask a knowledge-based question. Are you open on Thursday at 3 p.m.? So if you see, if it's showing the thinking process, it's a knowledge-based question. It says, yes, we are open on Thursday at 3 p.m. and these are our hours. So great. It's referencing this kind of question to a knowledge base. Now, let me do one thing. Let me show you in like a split screen view so you can see the magic happening. So I'm gonna activate this make flow and check inventory. Okay. And let's go over here and let me pull this over here. Okay. All right. I want you to look at the number 100. I'm going to order 10 red roses and let's see it drops to 90 and here will I see somebody scribbling on the screen. Is there a way to remove that? Let me
Not sure. We could
clear
even.
all right. Okay, great. No worries. I got you. All right. All right. So here we got to update the order and here it should become 90. Okay. Now let's order I want to 10. Okay. All right. So in this example, I'll use Paul's name. So I'll write like a random email. So it's gonna run that tool that I mentioned. Good thing you order for it. Okay, let me just see real quick. So you see here, Paul's order is added here, but let me see why the inventory didn't update. Let me see if I enabled that flow or not.
You may have to do a refresh on your,
Make.
yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, you're right. That probably didn't get. All right, let's try that again. Let me see what's happening.
And then refresh your Google Doc. Oh, no.
All right, no worries. Let's see again what's happening here. All right, so that's the beauty of a live demo. Sometimes
Yeah, no, this is great. This is learning. We're all learning
yes. All right, so let's.
what happens in the kitchen.
All right, so looks like that wasn't turned on, but let's try again. No issue here. Okay, hopefully this should be fixed. Just give me 1 second. All right. I see here there's something here. Let's see. Okay, so the data has been parsed, but looks like it didn't act on it. So let's see. Oh, it was inactive.
So while you're debugging this, to me, it's really interesting how more and more of this business logic is handled by the LLMs
Right.
with actually being in the traditional.
All right, let's try again. Start a new chat.
Yeah, maybe order 11 just to get a different number.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see.
Can I just ask a question while he's doing that?
Please go ahead.
So is there a best practice you think for if you're integrating this with clients and then they're trying to use it and it doesn't work, where it's almost like a disclaimer, like testing AI, if there's an error message, call us or something. Is there any thoughts on that?
Well, one of the
Yeah, this
things
is
we
Tim. I have thoughts on that. Make it work.
you
Customer
always want to tell
centricity.
people it's
That's
a robot.
error testing. Yeah.
I mean, this is fine, if we're fooling around and doing it, but if you're going to ship a product to a customer, it should work. It should be tested. It should be vetted. It should work. Drives me nuts. This,
Right.
Error handling.
Right.
yeah. We can blame Bill Gates. He taught us all to just ship whatever we got and let the customers debug it. I think it's terrible.
Right.
Right.
It just with some of the outages and stuff, where even if you think it might work and then there's some outage with the AI, and then I don't know. Thanks.
Well, those are if it's infrastructure things, again, the user interface, people, when people talk about UX, failure is an important part of the UX. If the internet's down, then you should recognize that and at least let your customer know, hey, the internet's down, there's not much I can do. And then the legal stuff, you have to, get a lawyer and figure out how to limit your liability so you don't get in trouble, but that's fine. But at least know what's going wrong and give your customer some sense of it, because that's the other thing I can't believe I still get 404 messages here and there.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys a question? I mean, I think this is really kind of on the nose in terms of, do we really believe that, non-technical engineers are going to be building agents, or is it going to be like prompt engineering where maybe for the first year or year two, people were learning how to prompt engineer, but then the AIs get so good, you really don't have to do that anymore. And my belief is that, in a year or two, the AIs, we're going to be able to give voice command and they will build the agents, and that, like what we're seeing here, we don't all have to figure out how to connect document to document to document. But I'm curious what you guys think.
100%. You're
I
spot
think,
on.
yeah, I would go so far as to say, Paul, you've had experience, maybe John too. You can already say, create me a prompt kind of things, and they're pretty good at it. In fact, I think they're starting to build it in from what I see.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some truth to that. I think there's still a long ways to go, because if you have a complex problem with a lot of context, you need to get it to them, even if it's in a rough form, but they will reshape it. And I think they'll do more and more of that, and they'll get better and better at it.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be baby steps. I think the next one in enterprises is starting to do just basic information queries. How do I start doing deep research across 3 or 4 data stores and not have to worry about data dictionaries and stuff? But
All right. All right.
But do you think the AIs are going to actually start building agents for us in a matter of years, so that we don't have to do like what just, Sarat just experienced? It's like it fixes it and finds it and it does it for us.
I don't think corporations are going to allow stuff to go outside the governance. It's going to have to stay in the governance thing.
So I think that I believe some of this is happening already. There are, I think I mentioned this before, that there's companies over here that are, ensuring that their production is monitored and taken care of, but also fixed in real time, and then having a human in a loop to finalize that. For development right now, I've been experimenting with Super Whisper and Whisper Flow, just for development, controlling the desktop, but also building agents. You can select what framework, whether it's Crew or Pydantic or whatever, and just essentially use natural language to tell it. But a practice that I've been getting into is also having the tests being written at the same time so that I can verify the tests. And then, I think we hit this last week or somewhere I saw it's like, well, having one black box verify another black box, so we still have to keep human in the loop. But yeah, I'm trying to hold on to some of the earlier practices, which was, test-driven development, have it write the tests and then, do that. But that's where I'm at. Using voice is really hard. I agree with Paul. Talking to your laptop is it's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Raymond, let's hold on that.
Yep.
Sarat, we can
Yep.
get back the microphone. Looks like you've caught up.
Yeah, I got it. All right. So there's some issue with the
before-
well,
Sarat, just before you get on it, can I just say one thing about the Ray was saying? We're working with a number of folks, especially one that's doing a lot of agentic work inside large complex organizations. And this particular firm, Quantum Gears, they've got deep expertise in APIs and security. And I think that the folks who are actually going to get agents to work, one company they're working in has over 400 legacy APIs that they're going into. And, and they're very tight on security, they're tight on governance. So I think that in complex enterprises, I think you need really good software people who understand APIs, who understand security to make it work in the context of these highly regulated, complex organizations. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Sarat.
all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with John here is that we're gonna have AI write these agents, but no way without human architect who is driving it first and then controlling the outputs and able to get the code of this and do full, complete code review with AI. If we include the humans like that, then absolutely AI is gonna be writing it. But if you just think that I'm gonna give it like a 2-sentence prompt and the AI is gonna write me an agent, I don't think that we're gonna be there for like 30 years at least, maybe 50, For as long as we are in this profession, we're not gonna be there.
Can we go back to that make screen? We have some
Yeah,
feedback.
let's go, Sarat.
Right. Yeah. So let me just show you real quick here. So I have here the input here, white lily 10, and now we have 60. So
Your
let's
screen.
run this. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah,
You don't see my screen?
yes,
Hold on.
now we can.
Nope, now you can't.
Oh, hold on. Let me try. All right. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me show you. So you see, we have 60 white lilies. So I'm ordering 10 here. So this number should drop to 50. So let me just run this real quick. So you see here, it dropped to 50. And similarly, we can do a quick test for this specific flower. It's 50, so it should drop to 40. Great. And if we go to the order sheet, since I didn't change my name here, it's SK and SK at Gmail. You see the order being logged here. All right, so I'm glad finally we were able to fix it. Now moving on to the next portion of the presentation. So as you saw, of course, in this case, we ran into some problem. But the good thing about this is agent is really good at building something like this. This is more like a logic kind of step where we get an order request, we check the inventory, we collect the information and the update sheets. So this is like a good example to build something where we're not trying to do something where there's like some kind of a more human element to it, where users may not like it if that's being done by an AI agent or something like that. And just to talk about in pricing, if you take the pro plan of Relevance AI, it costs you $19 a month. And if you take the core plan from the make.com, that's like $11. So roughly around like $30 a month of pricing that would cost to do this. But just in a nutshell, we want to ensure AI is not taking away what makes us human, but it should take away what keeps us from being human. And we want to focus on giving agents the boring stuff, which more like monotonous and like a bunch of steps, but freeing the humans for the good stuff. And thank you so much. And you guys have any questions? You want to discuss anything further?
Sarat, this is related to that discussion about AI-generated code. Out of these tools that you worked with, including Make, I think that you worked with Make as well, right? Any of those tools can actually export your result of your work as some kind of code. I know it's low-code tool, but can I get the result in as a code that can be then reviewed by AI and a human?
You mean like a JSON file or something like that?
Well, preferably some basically maybe Python, maybe Java, maybe JavaScript, something that is more robust than JSON. Because like I struggle with the tools that create just a whole bunch of dashboards for me, and it's becoming a black box. I wonder if there is some kind of expert into more of a kind of like external code representation of my work.
I'm not aware of that. Probably we can check the Make documentation to see. I know if you take the Pro plan, they give you Make API, so probably you can, see how the data is being sent to you in a specific format that you're looking for. I think maybe we can check the Make.com document, but on top of my head, I'm not aware of that. But I know you can get like a JSON data for sure.
Yeah. Let's get that. So we'll go, Steve. Thanks for raising your hand, and then Alua. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I don't know much about make.com, but I kind of would have guessed that make.com could have done everything you just did, but obviously not. Can you tell me which parts
Sure.
Make can't do, I guess?
Correct. I think in the recent offering, they just launched something. I was just looking here on the Make. They just launched something called as AI agents, which just launched a few days ago. So probably I'm not sure its exact functionality yet, what it can do, whether it's same like relevance or not. But at the time when I was experimenting with this tool, this is so the Relevance AI was acting like the main chat front end where a user will ask a question and it'll start routing. If it's a knowledge based thing, it'll go to a knowledge base and get you the answer. If it's something like taking an order, it'll send call make webhook and it'll do the task. So if you have defined in on our make.com or webhook that if you're doing checking inventory, do this bunch of tasks. So if you go here, check inventory, so I want you to, check on Google Sheet, do we have the flower or not? If yes, return yes, we have a flower, and see if the user wants anything else. And once that's completed, if you see in the tools, I'm doing 2 Make API calls. So let me just show you real quick. So this is, you see here the API, this is to check the inventory, this is to log the order. Once we have confirmed the order, creating the order in the order sheet. So in these 2 scenarios, I'm using Make. Basically, it's like doing automation on the Google Sheet, adding a row, searching a row, updating a row, something like that. So I'm using Make for that, and Relevance to the chat interface.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Make is really good at connecting to data, I think, and you were leveraging that.
Right.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Go ahead, Lula, and then David.
Okay, this is great work. Thank you, Sarat, first. For me, when I look at this, it reminds me of when I started programming. I started like building websites with PHP, and then WordPress came. And with WordPress, you have the plugins, and like you design your page. And this pretty much, because I'm still developing agent with ADK from OpenAI, the agent development kit, right? And this kind of brings everything that is happening behind that with some UIs. So my question is like, first, you are writing your own tools, right? Like the function contain integration. Does that any tools that is coming from like an open market similar to, WordPress's plugin market? Like for example, for social media or anything that happens repeatedly. Have you noticed anything like that? My second question is, if you want to take this flower shop agent, for example, and want to productize it, how would you deal with like hosting or kind of infrastructure wise? Like, do they give you any visibility, or are you just if you have explored
Got it.
these areas?
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll answer your first question. So in terms of like plugins, like how you're talking about in Webflow, there are some like for example, some already trending like extract and summarize LinkedIn profile. So you can already use
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
who have already created that, like get recent posts from LinkedIn. Or for example, you're doing an outreach. You want to do a quick Google search before responding. Let's say you filled in my form. What I can do, an automation, you filled in my form. Whenever someone fills in a form, before I draft a response to you, I want the AI to do a search on you so I can write a personalized response if I'm trying to sell you something. So I'm trying to see if there's any interest related based on, any Google search. So there are a couple of like this predetermined flows that are already defined that are available that you can use, or you can do by use case, like, something like communication. As I was talking about Gmail, like, something related to HubSpot, or booking a appointment, or modifying an appointment. So there are some things that are available you can do, and these integrations will keep on increasing, and hopefully maybe in the future there'll be a marketplace where people, like how in Webflow they sell plugins, probably they'll sell their plugins, so that does a very specified thing. That could be like what you're talking about, productizing, like for example, the same thing I showed you, I could do this. I was just working on, I could do the same thing for a library assistant where you're checking books, do we have that specific book or not? If yes, run like a checkout flow, take the user's name and, like, add for pickup for that user. So this specific model, like flower shop, library, anything that involves checking a Google sheet to see if there's an inventory. If there is inventory, okay, then create an order. That could be a flower shop, that could be a library, that could be any, like a rental service, like you're renting like, some camera equipment or something. It could be anything which involves, like, you take user information, they're asking for something, check an inventory, that could be a Google sheet or Airtable, whatever it is, and then come back to it. And to your other question, in terms of, let's say I want to put this for production, do for an actual client, what is my cost? So let's take a quick look for the Relevance AI pricing. So here, as you can see here, probably you would want to take the business plan, where you'll have a lot of credits, so you can do for multiple clients, or you can maybe contact them to see if there's anything better. And in terms of, I think the billing would work like whatever you're charging the client, of course, is covering your costs, your monthly costs, and it won't be like a one-time charge, because to maintain the agent, you have to have monthly subscriptions to pay for credit. So probably your billing would, for your client, would be like, let's say $1,000 to build an agent for the flower shop per month, and out of that $539.10 is to maintain it, and here and there. And the good thing is, since you're connecting to their Google Sheet, they will be updating their inventory as they keep getting flowers, so you don't have to make any changes at your end. Of course, here and there you got to do this requires a lot of testing to ensure, like how we ran into a scenario where it wasn't working for a bit, then again we got it working. So we'll have to do a lot of testing to ensure if there's any time, if there's a downtime, like let's say make.com is down, what do you do then? Or maybe you're using OpenAI API is down for some reason, then you're not able to do the LLM task. There's some risk like that. The best way is to have some fallbacks. If OpenAI doesn't work, then have add a logic of OpenAI is not able to use the Cloud API. Same thing, if Make is not responding, do this. But I'm sure people will figure out a way to evaluate this in such a way where we have less risk and less errors.
Great. Let's David, let's do last question, then we'll open mics. David, and then we'll finish up with Sarat.
Thank you, Steve and Sarat. I had exactly the same question about how did Make and Relevant sort of connect. So I figured, why am I going to bother you? I should ask ChatGPT while you're talking about it. Okay, and I just wanted to say, first I did it without the web search because I didn't turn it on. Then I wrote the web search. I'm just going to, because it's very short. Bottom line as of June 2025, because it said they had to be separate originally. Now, Make.com can run LLM agents natively, depending on your needs, and may fully replace Relevance.ai for simpler cases. For deeper AI workflows like vector indexing, scheduled agents, or rich agent controls, Relevance AI is still the stronger fit. And if you combine them, you get the best of both worlds, makes orchestration plus Relevance AI's deep AI capabilities. I figured I'd throw that in since it sort of supplemented what you had done and what was going on. The other thing I wanted to say was about the earlier comment about whether learning agents at all will be necessary versus AI taking them over. And I just wanted to throw out two pieces of that. One of them is there's the question of whether you need to manually go from flowchart block to flowchart block with the agent tool, but there's still the question of what is it you actually want to do for your business? To write that down clearly is a flowchart that's pretty complicated. And you can say AI may soon be able to ask you the questions that will allow it to create the flowchart. But I just want to separate out the difference between what the heck do I want to do with how do I implement what I want to do? Because I don't think those are the same thing.
Well said, David. Sarat, really great. Sarat, and my last question is, what is the biggest learning that you took away from this project?
Well, especially the concept of tools, that is something really helpful. Relevance AI made the whole agent conceptual part much more easier to understand, where whenever you create an agent, these are the 4 elements of an agent. You need to have a prompt, what are some tools, and tools are a set of actions, what is the knowledge, and what are some triggers. So this specific tool helped me understand visually the components. Of course, there are a lot of diagrams and all, but I'm not such a technical person. Whenever I see all those diagrams, I'm not clear what's happening. So this whole flow allowed me like to think actually, okay, this is what's happening inside an agent. This is what the automation is. This is what the workflow is. This is what tools mean. Like agent will call a tool, or agent will route a specific question. This is a knowledge-based thing, so I should go to knowledge-based. This is a thing I need to call a tool. So it's intelligently able to figure out which tool to call and validate. Okay, this is a tool. Okay, this is the answer. So in this whole exercise, I learned, like, of course, I'm using 2 tools. Hopefully in the future, there's one tool. We're just doing everything there. So rather than passing API here and there, maybe some will use third-party tools. But this whole exercise really helped me understand the whole architecture of how the agent works.
That's great. Thanks. Excellent job, Sarat. Go ahead, DJ.
Oh, thank you so much. Great share. Right now, I'm using lots of NAN. I was wondering what you sort compared to make with NAN, which one you prefer, or any, I was wondering if you're using NAN or that's what I'm using right now most time. So I just wanted to like focus my learning on one tool instead of multiple.
Right.
So would love to hear your thoughts. And
yeah, so that's a great point. So if you notice with AI, there's so many tools, like Paul was mentioning. There's Claude, Gemini, and Chat GPT, and like how Ethan was saying, or I would also say, just pick a tool that you're comfortable in and just go deep in that. There'll always be tools coming that are similar. Some will say this is better than this pricing is better than this, but you might as well, since you're comfortable in NNN, just go more deep into it. Both are similar tools. Probably one is better than the other. I'm not sure which one, but if it solves your purpose and you know how to do it and you can go more deep into it, just stick to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I love that. And to me, Sarat, that's the goal should be to get the intermediate skill with a tool and solving the business problem you want, I think is the thing we're seeing a lot. So Sarat, fantastic job. We got 5 minutes. Let's make this open mic. Do people want to raise their hand, share something, ask a question, vent frustration about the wars, anything you want? Go ahead, Raymond.
I'm not going to invent, but thank you for that presentation. Well, what I got from it was I hadn't really thought about the idea of connecting these different platforms. Like I had no idea. I'd never thought of connecting Make to what you started well with this Relevance AI and then Make. I do work a lot in N8N, but the thing is that everyone learns differently, and all of these tools, everyone can find a tool that works for them. There's no, specific one, but that's what I took from your presentation, is that I can connect, these different tools. I never thought of that. That's great. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome. Glad to hear that.
Go ahead, Tim, finish us up here.
Yeah, I was going to actually go back to John's original comments and your comments on the article about education and the bicycles of the mind. So that was Alan Kay who told that. Steve Jobs picked it up in the original Macintosh when we were building the original Macintosh. And the idea, at least as Alan explained it, was a bicycle is a direct amplifier of what you can already do. It doesn't make you weaker, it just makes you stronger at what you already are. So it makes you faster at running, faster at walking, but you do the same motions. Whereas a car, which is a substitute and is much more effective at one level, causes atrophy. And all of a sudden you have to remember to exercise, because if you don't exercise, you just drive around all the time, and we see the results. You get sedentary and your limbs atrophy. So that's the big relationship in my mind to the problems if we're not careful, even like this. If we let the agents do all the work for us, then if it's an amplifier to our mind, like a bike is an amplifier to our legs, that's great, because then we're just making our mind better at what it already does. If it's a substitution for thinking, that's a problem, because then our mind atrophies. So I think we still have to figure that out. And it's not clear to me. I don't have the answer as to where we cross that line into substitution, but it's an important one that we have to pay attention to.
Yeah, really well said. John, before you go ahead, Karen. I see Karen's
Yep.
physically raising her hand, and then we'll go to John. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, no, and if you think about e-bikes, that even takes it another
In the
piece,
middle.
because it's right. And e-bikes somehow, there's also this danger factor of like going off the guardrails, and that the systems aren't really designed for them. And so
Right.
you have this conflict of the spaces created for bikes and the spaces created for cars now.
Secondary effects, right?
Yeah. So I think that's a really apt way to think about it. But I do want to really just recognize the power and potential for these as assistive technologies for people who don't think like everyone else, and the power, as long as we're using them in the right way, these can be incredibly powerful.
They're great. I ask them all the time how I should talk to my wife, because I'm pretty bad at that most of the time.
Go ahead, John. John, take us home. We'll finish up with your contribution.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was listening to the All In podcast today, and they were talking about, basically the automation of white collar work and how it was going to increase GDP. And I thought, no, it only increases GDP if there's not more demand, like a lot more demand. And it just was a reminder, the same thing here, is that I wish that our technologists would think a lot more about secondary consequences in the context of what they do. I think that,
Great.
Societal issue for sure.
Well, thank you, everyone. Another great learning session. Sarat, fabulous presentation. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Contribution here. Mark, I see you online. We're excited for your presentation next week. And let's keep the learning going.